Hello. Okay, this is gonna be a pretty raw recording. Not that most of my recordings are polished, but I'm not gonna like stop it and re-record it like I usually do. So it might be a little bit rough, but I did want to kind of just go through kind of my thoughts on the NAR, National Association of Realtors settlement. Um, for those of you that don't know what happened, there was a class action lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors, and it was this group of people. I want to say they were in Missouri. I think it was a group of people, a group of sellers in Missouri. And basically, what happened is they when they went to sell their house, their realtor or realtors did not properly explain how the commission works in the home selling process. And I have another video that is about like how I get paid. And if you want to check that out, check it out and I'll go into further detail. But the way that it's classically portrayed is that the seller pays the commission, and that commission could be 6%, it could be 7%, it could be 5%, but the seller, that comes from the seller's proceeds, right? So the way that the realtors really screwed themselves is that the realtors basically, we always kind of the way that we always kind of worded it was, well, the seller pays the commission, but then the commission gets split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. And so then in the minds of the seller, they're paying that buyer's agent commission. And if you want to think about it like that, that's fine. I totally understand. It's a very simple way to think about it. I mean, you could also think about it in that, you know, the buyer is bringing the money to the table, and a portion of that money goes to pay both agents, the seller's agent and the buyer's agent, right? Or you could look at it as closing costs, as just another chunk of change that you had that both parties have to pay when when you're buying or selling a home, and it's just you just file it under closing costs, right? But anyway, one, I think the sellers were, and I'll say that I think a lot. None of this is. I'm not talking NAR talking points here. All I'm saying is this is my observation, right? Um, so I think that sellers in general get frustrated because of the idea that they are paying both the listing agent and the buyer's agent. And then also the thing that these sellers specifically were angry about was they thought they didn't know that um, a commission can be negotiated. And so that's one point that I just want to like drive home when I talk about this is commissions can be negotiated. Now, when I'm working with a seller, we can definitely have that conversation. When I say commissions can be negotiated, it doesn't automatically mean I'm going to drop my commission, but we are going to have a conversation about commission, what it goes to, and we can negotiate that. So it is something that we can talk about. All right. So I want you to understand that is that we can always negotiate commissions. So anyway, these particular sellers they didn't realize that. So they thought that it was a set cost to sell their house, and then on top of that, I don't think they were happy that in their minds, they were paying for not only their agent but also for the buyer's agent. Um, so there was like a transparency issue, right? So anyway, that's what the lawsuit was about, and what has come out of that, this NAR settlement, really only, and the thing that the media keeps saying, I mean, I think it was there was a CNN um, uh, headline story, whatever he said, and it said NAR scraps 6% commission. And a lot of realtors were just like, it was like nails on the chalkboard for them because depending on what market you're in, um, the commission is not 6%. There's no set commission, right? And depending on how much the like house that what the list price is going to be. If you go out to California, where real estate costs are astronomically high, I think, I don't know for sure. I think it's like 3% to 2% is like the average out there. Here in the Midwest, yeah, you're looking at 6%, 7%, and 5%. I mean, I've seen all of those in the Cedar Rapids market and in the Iowa City market, right? So those are kind of some of the commissions I see. So I mean, I'm sure in the coast, like I'm sure that the commission is going to be different because it just kind of depends on what what you see in the market, right? So I mean, so anyway, what came out of all this was two things are going to, if this all goes through, and it still isn't 100% going through yet, but the two things that are going to happen is that starting in July, one, if a realtor, so we'll say if I am working with you, a buyer, before we even look at a house, I have to have a buyer's agency agreement signed. What is a buyer's agency agreement? A buyer's agency agreement is simply a contract between you, the buyer, and me, the buyer's agent, saying we are working together to help you, the buyer, purchase a home. Now, that doesn't mean you have to purchase a home because we've got this contract. Like, if we look for 3 months and we don't find anything, and you're like, "Hey Tim, we're done," that's fine. Like, it's not saying you have to buy a house. It's just an agreement that we are working together. We are starting a mutually agreeable relationship to help you find a home that you would want to purchase. So that's one. We have to have buyer's agency signed. Second, and I think this one is really weird, but the second thing is that on the MLS, we brokers are no longer allowed to put a commission split in the MLS. So when I would go and I would look and see what commission, like what the, I'd look at a house and I'd go down, and down at the bottom it says commission 3.5 or commission 3, commission split, SOC. And that is, and that would be like the buyer's agent's split. And it's usually 50-50. I don't know for sure what the listing agent's getting, but just looking at the number, I can usually figure out, what the listing agent is, saying the commission is, and then what my piece of it is. And I would say 98% of the time I've been in real estate, it's been 50-50, right? So that's no longer there. Okay. So sorry, I don't want to be this long. I'll try to like wrap this up, but I think that the big concern that I have here is I think a lot of people are saying, oh, well, sellers are going to say, I don't want to pay the buyer's agent commission anymore. And I, and again, it's a very like, okay, you can say that, and, we can charge you half. But here's the thing that's going to be difficult. And it's not even that. Let's say I'm the buyer's agent and I call up the seller's agent and I said, "Hey, I have a buyer and they want to purchase this home." And the listing agent says, "Okay, I just want to let you know that the seller is only paying the listing agent commission on this listing. So your buyer is going to have to come up with your commission." And the problem with that, it's not that I will never, and I haven't done this before. I work with for sale by owners all the time. I've worked for a lot less of commission than I'm used to working with, because if my buyer is interested in a property, I'm going to show them that property, and if they want to buy that property, I'm going to help them buy that property. Okay? I don't. I think one thing that people think that realtors did was like, oh, they're only offering a 2% commission for the buyer's agent. I'm not going to show them that house. You know, I don't do that. I don't do that. If my buyer wants to see the house and my buyer likes the house, we are going to look at the house. Okay. Um, so anyway, but what I was saying was, so then what I do have to do, if the seller is not paying that listing commission and it's not coming out of those proceeds, then I have to go to my buyer and I have to say, hey, so the seller's not paying a listing or a buyer's agent commission. So if you want me to work with you to buy this house, then you are going to need to come up with an additional two, three, four, maybe not five. I mean, it's an expensive house, $1,000 on top of your down payment and your closing costs and what you paid for the inspection and all that. And there will legitimately be buyers that will be like, Tim, that's not in our budget, and now we can't buy this house. So it's not even like they won't work with the seller. It's not the buyer's agent won't work with the seller. It's literally that the buyer will be like, that doesn't work with our budget, and the lender can't add that. You know, that's not in our budget. We can't buy the house. All right. So I want what I want people to understand coming out of this is it's not necessarily a situation where the buyer's agent won't show the house or the seller's agent is. I mean, it's not a, it's not really a choice. If the buyer can't do it, the buyer can't do it. Now, one thing that might change, but it's going to require, like, I think it's going to require legislation. I'm sure it's going to require legislation, if we can ever do this, is, and a lot of realtors kind of in like circles have talked about this, but it's nothing that we can't say that it's going to happen because I don't think it's legal right now. That's why I say I would have to bring some legislation where, the lender might be able to work into the loan, a buyer's agent commission. Um, I mean, I think that's realistically, if this really becomes like an issue, I think that's something that could maybe happen. But um, I think the unfortunate thing is that it's just, this is not going to. I I don't think sellers are going to be making any more money, and I don't think this is going to help the housing market as much as people think it is. Um, I think it's going to make it more difficult to purchase a house. I think there's going to be some transparency issues. Um, yeah. So I would love to know your thoughts on this. And if you want to sit down over coffee or a beer and talk about this with me, I mean, it's literally what I do. So I mean, I love to geek out over this, and I love just have like debates and conversations about this. This has gone on for 12 minutes, so I will cut this. I'll be done now. But I wanted to let you know what my thoughts were about the NAR settlement and kind of what it means to what it means to me, and what it means to our market, at least in the short term. So just out, and I'm gonna actually record another video so that you can kind of get my points on this. But anyway, so my here are the takeaways, right? In July, if you are looking for a house, as soon as you meet with a realtor to look at a house, that realtor is going to have you sign a buyer's agency agreement. And then second, a buyer's agent will not know what the commission split is on a property that they're showing you, or if there is a commission split, until they have a conversation with the listing agent and say, hey, what's the commission split on this? Because it will no longer be on the MLS. Like, those are the two regulated things that are going to change, between like what the way things are now and the way things were to the way things will be after the NAR settlement goes into effect. Also, commissions are always negotiable. So if you're having a conversation with your realtor about listing your home, and you want to have a conversation about how much they charge for a commission, have that conversation because it's not set in stone. It's negotiable. Okay? All right. Sorry for the long video. Y'all have a great day. I hope you had a happy Easter. That was yesterday. So, also, it's Monday tonight. Hawks versus LSU. If you're watching this in the future, then you already know the outcome. But hey, go Hawks. All right. Have a great one.